Hi, this is Dr. Otis Williams of The Temptations. Happy New Year, everyone, and I hope everyone is staying safe. I have some amazing news. Our number one hit, Just My Imagination Running Away with Me, hey, is 50 years old. Can you believe that? I'm singing something that's almost as old as I am. But I love it because you all love it, and because of you, that's why we're still doing it. I have some amazing stories to tell about that record. I don't know where to begin, but I got to begin somewhere. So I'm going to start off by saying this. The producer, Norman Whitfield, he would always come by my house, and this was in Detroit, Michigan. And he would say, hey, man, check this here track out. I got this here song, and I think really it's going to be a hit. So he let me hear the track to Just My Imagination. And now this is before we put the voices on. So later on that evening, we went in the studio. Now, what you all didn't know, we would go in the studio at 7 o'clock in the evening. We would not come out until 1 or 2 o'clock the next morning. That's just the background. Eddie Kendricks, who did a wonderful job of putting the lead on. So I said, Eddie, I'll talk with you tomorrow. Now, it was about 2 o'clock in the morning when the Temps were leaving Eddie Kendricks there. So I called Eddie the next morning, about 8 or 9 o'clock the next morning. And Eddie said, hey, man, I'm just getting in. I said, Eddie, you have been at the studio all that time? He said, you know how Norman Whitfield is. And that was the thing that we would have to deal with Norman, because he would take each one of us. If we had a lead to do, he was very meticulous. So we did the background, Eddie did the lead. Now they released the record, and the record jumped to #1. We sold over 2 million copies. But there's some sad parts about Just My Imagination that, I want to share with you. If and when you should ever see the Temptations sing Just My Imagination on Ed Sullivan, I saw it and I was very let down, because you could see 5 guys that was unhappy. Here we had a #1 record, sold over 2 million copies, but we were very unhappy at that time. And that's shortly after that, Eddie Kendricks went on his own. And then we had to find a young man by the name of Damon Harris. But Just My Imagination was so huge that even when we do it today, the fans, they would start applauding and really letting us know that they really loved that song. So when Norman brought the song by my house after we put the voices on, it was a beautiful string arrangement, which I love. A young man by the name of Jerry Long, which I haven't seen in quite some time, but he did a beautiful job of arranging the strings to Just My Imagination. And when I heard us sing it, and then when I heard the strings, I said, man, I think we got something. And when I listened to Paul Williams do that Every Night on My Knees I Pray, Paul did it with such a wonderful feel that it almost kind of touched the soul, the spirit, because he had that kind of expression in his delivery when he would sing ordinarily. But Paul, like I said, did such a beautiful job that when Terry do it now, people would even applaud for Terry, because the line that Paul did was so touching and memorable that it's become like a mainstay part of the song, which it is a mainstay. But Just My Imagination was #1 in quite a few chart records, positions on Billboard, Cashbox, and all the noted musician publications as far as record sales. And, it's just something that when I listen at it, it still touched me, because I think about a lot of things that we went through. And like I said, it was #1 across the board, and it stayed up at #1 for quite some time. But that wasn't the first #1 record that we had. We had My Girl was the #1 record. I think I Wish It Would Rain got pretty close to #1. So historically, the Temptations have been blessed with a lot of big hit records. But whenever we do Just My Imagination, it would always get such a wow and wonderful applause and oohs and ahs. And I remember that song with the audience would look at us so endearing that, you can tell that they love that song as well as they love My Girl. But, so there's a lot of wonderful things about Just My Imagination that happened. But the sad part about it, that was Eddie Kendricks' last song that he performed with the Temptations. We had the pleasure of singing with Eddie years later when we did Standing on the Top. But as far as being in the Temptation, that was his last big record, with the Temptation. And fortunately, it still went to number one even after Eddie Kendricks left. So great experience. But can you imagine, like I said earlier, we are singing a song that's over 50 years old. Like My Girl, over 50 years old. I Wish It Would Rain, over 50 years old. I never would imagine that we would have such a wonderful, wonderful plethora of hits like we have had, and hope to continue on with the kind of fans that we have. But just my imagination, I wouldn't doubt if in time that would become like My Girl. I've since been told that My Girl has become a standard. And I believe that because one time I was out and I heard the great singer Tony Bennett. So we were out, eating, and I heard, I said, that sounds like Tony Bennett. Wait a minute, is Tony Bennett singing My Girl? I said, well, I'll be doggone. When you get a Tony Bennett singing My Girl, and even if he should sing Just My Imagination, your song have arrived. So we are very blessed and happy that we have had so many hit records that now that some of our songs have beginning to become hits. Not only hits, I'm sorry, but standards. So all because of you being such a wonderful fan base, that we have had and still having a very historic time in our lives. We're getting ready to do our 60th LP, and it'll be out later on this year. But I never would imagine that we would be singing songs that's been around that long, still being loved. And now we're getting ready to do our 60th album. So it's just a great blessing to have songs that people have really become very, in love with, and bring back a lot of memories. Just My Imagination, And when I listen to Just My Imagination, we didn't get fancy with a whole lot of riffs and that. We kept it like we say in the studio, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And those are the kind of songs that really can become hits because you're singing it where the fans and the fan base can sing right along with us rather than trying to get slick and do a whole lot of riffs and all that because, we can do that, but some songs you have to sing very plaintive. And we did that with Just My Imagination because it was that kind of song that would cross over. I never knew that Just My Imagination would become such a huge hit. But then again, after I heard what Jerry Long did with the string arrangement, when I heard the string arrangement, I thought it should become part of a movie. Beautiful arrangement, and I just got through talking to the great Barrett Strong. Now, Barrett Strong was the lyricist of the Norman Whitfield and Barrett, and he's out here in L.A., and I told him, I said, hey, Barrett, we're getting ready to do social media about Just My Imagination because it's 50 years old. And he said, wow, man, really? He said, what can I see? I said, social media, you'll be able to check it out. So the great Barrett Strong, who penned the lyrics, is still with us, and him and I grew up together. If you want to know more about just the Temptations and Just My Imagination, Barrett Strong and I used to live across the street from each other on the north end section of Detroit, Michigan. And thank God he's still with us. We lost our producer, Norman Whitfield, a few years ago. But, there's a lot of history within the Temptations, Motown, and a lot of the great writers that we've encountered. So I do hope you will enjoy listening to Just My Imagination because it is truly, truly one of my favorites. We hope you enjoy. All right, see you later. Gone.